Hi, I'm Calvin Morris from Elite Care Services, and this is Elite Care Conversations. Thank you for taking the time to show an interest in the interview processes for Elite Care Services and what we are trying to achieve. That is quite simple. All that we're trying to do is to make sure that the awareness and the stigma around the bad part of care, as it is seen via the media, is squashed, and that we can deliver good quality content, good interviews and great information from the people who work on the front line of the care industry in the care homes and nursing homes. I hope that you enjoy this podcast. Hi, welcome back to Elite Care Conversations. I've got an amazing guest with me today, Lauren from Moneypenny. We've just been having a chat before we got started, and she's been telling me about the amazing business that they have over there and about the history of the company. So how are we doing today, Lauren? Are you okay?
Yes, I'm really well. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I say appreciate you coming on. So if I just sort of hand over to you to start with, do you just want to tell us about the business and what you do, and specifically about the care side of your business as well?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Lauren. I'm the business development manager for the health and care sector at Moneypenny. So Moneypenny are the market leaders in telephone answering, live chat, and outsourced communications. We have a dedicated healthcare department here at Moneypenny. So it's about 45 receptionists strong at the moment. So they're all there solely dedicated to the care sector and the healthcare sector, really tailored in terms of looking after them types of calls, knowing the terminology that comes through as well.
Great. Okay. So we talked a little bit about telephone services, essentially answering services for businesses that are too busy or they're not able to answer all of their calls, missing incoming inquiries. So in terms of care, that could be recruitment inquiries for staffing, but more importantly, it could be in domiciliary, for example, that could be potential new clients who need packages or care packages, care homes, it could be new incoming service users, it could be hospitals looking to place somebody on one-to-ones or anything like that. So can you tell me about what we were talking about before, about why your service is unique and those things like you said about the lead receptionist and having the dedicated team? Because for me, that's really important to my personal objections about other answering services, which I think yours is a lot better at.
Yeah, of course. So I think for us, it's honing in on how important answering the phone is, regardless of what type of inquiry that is. I think it's all about the first impression. But for us, we'll talk, every client that comes to us has a different need and wants us to support them in a different way. But let's say it's from the new inquiry side of things, they might be happy to answer all other inquiries that go into their business, but want the support on the new care inquiries. So it's about us assigning that lead receptionist to understand why that person's got in touch. It's sometimes a really hard call for that person to make, so it requires a lot of empathy. We need to understand the needs from that person. So is it a care home? Is it a domiciliary care provider? Are we, do we need to know what home they're interested in? Do we need to take their postcode? Any special needs that person's got? But I think you touched on it before, as much as it used to be a new care inquiry, lead generation service, it's very much a recruitment side of things as well. So I think it is a bit of a candidate world out there sometimes, that they're calling lots of businesses, and it's really important that it's a candidate calling through. We're asking them again information about the role. Have they had any prior experience? If it's a domiciliary care provider, do they drive? All of them different questions. And we've been able to build on that through having lots of similar clients, so we can give our experience and expertise to any prospective clients looking to use us.
Yeah, that's really good. And again, what we were speaking before, just before we went live, was about, for me personally, I won't name the major phone company that we mentioned, but there's a particularly well-known phone company, and you go through many multiple choices, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, and then you can be on the phone for 30 minutes or an hour, and you can't move away from that particular company in that industry. And for me, what's really important is about what we do in our company is the quality control of within 3 rings, the phone has to be picked up. They have to say, hello, Elite Care. They have to make sure they're speaking to the people. And like you say, making a note of all of the correct information and then potentially putting them through to the correct department. And that's so essential. And what I was really impressed about with your service was about the lead receptionist. So the majority of your time, the person is going to be answered, the call is going to be answered by the same person. And of course, that person doesn't work 24 hours a day. So you've got a team of 4 to 5 maximum who are answering the calls for a particular business. And then also, more importantly, 24/7 as well, because a lot of inquiries for these companies, aren't just the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, right? That's not always the case. So, okay. So can you just tell me a little bit about the different types of care businesses, because you mentioned a few and you also said about vets as well, so there's quite a wide variety under that section of care with you guys, right?
Yeah, of course. So within our healthcare department, we do look after any industry kind of subsector that falls within that. So whether it is care, we have a large private hospital client base that comes with the private healthcare side of things. We've also got dentists, vets, lots of aesthetic practices as well now. So the range is massive for us within the healthcare department. But again, with the lead receptionist, it's trying to get them and their team to solely focus on maybe one subsector. So you might find that our care clients are dealt with by 5 to 10 of the different receptionists within the department, and then the private hospitals will be a separate team, but essentially they're all there to support healthcare businesses. And I think what you touched on before in terms of not being able to get through and gripes of, contacting businesses, I think that comes a lot within the more probably private hospital space, where it's like trying to contact a large business, you're on hold for a long time, it's annoying hold music, or you have to go for a really lengthy auto attendant. People don't want that anymore. They want to be able to pick up the phone, whether it be 10 o'clock at night, and expect a response in an appropriate time that they see fit.
Yeah, on a personal level, there was one of the more known private hospitals, and I had to have a small operation, nothing too serious, and I decided to go down the private route. And each time I was thinking about having this small operation done, it was always on the weekend when I wasn't working, and they're not open. I could never get hold of anybody. And then they would always ring me back on Monday at 11 o'clock when I was on Zoom or something else. And it was never convenient for me to talk. And so they didn't really, tailor themselves as such to my personal needs as the client who was spending my own money on myself for the reason that it was. And I think that's really important, and it's like, I know it's something quite different, but sometimes you see car dealerships who are closed on Sundays. And I think people are out buying cars on the weekends, aren't they? They should, if they're going to close for a day, it should be another day during the week. So I think, what you do is really valuable. And you said about people don't understand the power of that, getting the call answered instantly. Our business is on call 24/7. It always has been for years and years. And that's so vital. We always pick up a new customer at the most unexpected time. So, when shifts start at say 8 p.m, the calls are answered. We deal with it internally here, but all businesses don't have the they don't have the staffing or the funding to do that, or the infrastructure. We talked about your beautiful office that's there earlier before we came on, and some people don't have that, especially if they're a smaller business that's growing, they don't have the facilities to actually do this, right? So you also mentioned this is not just telephone answering you mentioned about live chat and outbound. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So we provide a managed live chat service. So it's technology that is supported by real people being able to handle the chats. Again, we have our dedicated receptionists within our live chat teams that will handle the care inquiries or the healthcare inquiries. So we do give the software to go on the website, and then the people to manage it on their behalf. We'll talk to our clients about what questions do you get? I think it's very different on live chat in terms of people expect an answer there and then, in terms of if they've got a question, you tend on live chat to do a lot more digging about a business before you then make that contact of a phone call. And it kind of links back to your when you mentioned about you were contacting about the operation. There's so many of our private hospital and healthcare providers now looking at live chat because it's that demographic that we spoke about earlier. I think the phone is still the number one way for people to contact. We see that. Obviously, we've got 22,000 businesses using us for telephone answering, but I think the world is changing slightly, and with that comes new technologies like live chat. I think it's really important, again, that you offer live chat 24/7. We always call it sofa searching time between the hours of, say, 6 and 10 at night. And that's where majority of our clients get their business, exactly like you said before. And then we have an outbound team, which was actually born out of COVID. It was born from our clients asking us during the COVID times when they didn't have the staff for us to be able to make outbound calls for them. And we tend to do that more as kind of warmer lead generation rather than a cold. So we'll contact if old data, if they've not made an appointment. It might be customer service satisfaction, all of them different things. So we look more on that customer contact, keeping in touch with them, kind of outbound service here as well.
Yeah, and I think just listening to what you're saying, that we talked about or you mentioned about somebody making a phone call for one of these services. Let's use the example of a private hospital for an operation of some kind. That can be quite a big step for them to make that phone call, speak to somebody they don't know about their personal problem, health problem, whatever it might be, and having the different channels. Some people are happy to be more vocal via messaging. We've certainly seen that in the growth of social media over the years, but some people might be more comfortable to say, I'm looking for an operation for this in that example, and be more comfortable to use live chat. Another bugbear for me as a business owner, because of the way that we run our business, is about not getting a response quick enough. And live chat, if you've got somebody with, I'm sure it's not like this, but 6 computers around them, with 6 chats going on. I've been on live chat before and they've said, hi, how are you? And you can see that it's a script. And I say, yeah, I need to solve this problem, whatever it is. And then you don't get an answer for 2 minutes. And then they answer you. And if you don't answer them in 20 seconds, they close the chat. And that's like really annoying, right? Because you're like, I'm trying to get this problem solved. And also it's really important that the process of whatever the reason they're on that live chat for is clear and concise. Because I've been on live chats about asking somebody before about, I don't know, a product, can't think what it was. And there were so many options in purchasing the product, which wasn't a cheap product. I think it was about £2,000. And buying something online at that level, you have to be sure that you want it.
You're getting the right
there was
one.
like 30 options, and the people say confusion never buys. I got so confused I didn't buy the product, and I went somewhere else who had a better streamlined process, and I purchased off that company because I think I went on live chat, they came straight on, and I was asking questions and they said, can we phone you? They phoned me and I bought it over the phone. And that's the service you offer, right? That's what you guys do. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that there's a couple of different when the client comes to us with a live chat need, there's a few different reasons why. They're either using live chat and they're in charge of manning it themselves. And a lot of the time they come to someone like us because they just haven't got the internal resource to be able to do that. So a lot of the time the chat is on the website, but it's offline, or they don't respond because they've forgotten about it. The other reason is that they are using another provider, but it might be that they aren't happy with the way that the chats are being handled, or the response time is really long. So it's actually amazing how many live chats you can go on, and when you pop up it'll say we aim to reply in an average of 4 minutes. well, I think
Too long, yeah, for
it's
live
too
chat, yeah.
long, because I think you have to understand that the people that are using live chat as well might be in the middle of their working day. They want a response immediately, or we then have a small pot of clients that have never used live chat on their website before. They're exploring what it will bring their business. So I think with ours, it's really important that we talk to clients about what's on their website, what type of business are they, and what type of inquiries are we going to get through. It's really important that we have a really big knowledge base of all of the questions and the answers, because like you said, I think that if we don't answer it in the right way, it's the difference between someone being confused and not buying from you. And it's not necessarily that you have to have all of the answers. It's about dealing with that in the right way. So if it is a sales inquiry, getting a member of the sales team to contact that person back. So it's really important from that aspect. But in terms of our live chat agents, whilst they do take multiple chats, they're normally for the same type of industry again, and our response for that first initial response to the customer is always within 12 seconds.
Yep.
So it has to be immediate. They have to know that you're there, essentially.
Yeah, I quite like being a secret shopper, and as we were talking earlier, I secretly on my second screen went to your website and tested your live chat, and I can confirm that the person answered me almost straight away.
There you go, sneaky.
Yeah, well, look, the purpose of me doing these podcasts is about having genuine businesses that help the care industry in various ways, and that's why that it was great that we managed to get you on to talk about your business. But it's important for me that proof's in the pudding, and I wouldn't want to recommend a service to anybody that I haven't tested myself. And I believe it was about 2 seconds, to be honest, that they answered in and started having a conversation with me, which was great. So
amazing. Well, I'm glad to hear it.
So yeah, you've been put to the test and it works, which is great. So okay. Do you take on, are all of your clients UK based? Do you take on international companies? How does that work?
Majority of the time they are UK based, but if they have sites overseas, we are able to support them as well, because we do offer the 24/7 cover. For us, it doesn't matter necessarily what country the calls are coming from. The only caveat to that is we offer English only speaking service within our telephone answering. And within our live chat, we can use technology, so a translator service that's built in to be able to respond to that. But on the telephone answering side, we are UK speaking only.
But with respect to the telephone answering services of the world, that's normally the opposite issue, as such, that the English language is either outsourced to another country where the accents are too hard to understand, or their English level is not good enough and they're reading off a script and not answering you properly, which I think probably it's fair to say most people have experienced that. So you said that everybody's UK based, aren't they?
So as you briefly mentioned, our office behind me, it's not a virtual background.
I thought it was, but it's not.
Live people walking past. So we're based in North Wales in Wrexham, so I'm sure a lot of people have heard about that recently due to the football.
I was going to mention that. They've actually launched a program on that now, haven't they?
So on Disney Plus, I've watched season 1, so my husband's anticipatingly waiting for season 2. We're based in Wrexham in North Wales. We were founded in 2000, and around 6-7 years ago we moved to a purpose-built office, which you can see behind me. So we've got just over 1,000 employees here now within the UK. We don't outsource anything to other countries. We do have an office in America, but they're based in Atlanta. They're very similar to us in terms of their own setup. So they have their own sales team, their own receptionist. So they solely look after our American clients there.
Amazing. Okay. Look, thank you very much for coming on and talking to me. I think that you've got a fantastic business. 22,000 companies can't be wrong. And I can see, with the way that my brain works, we talked about care, hospitals, vets, private hospitals, dentists. Can we just touch a little bit on the franchise side, because
Yeah.
we discussed that a little bit, didn't we?
Of course, yeah. So within the care side of things, we specifically have relationships with some of the domiciliary franchise care businesses within the UK, such as Bluebird Care, Right at Home, Wallfinch, just to name a few. But we are known within the franchising space as well. So it's my colleague Holly that looks after that side of things. So we're partnered with the BFA. She's heavily involved with encouraging women in franchising, which I believe she's got an event coming up this week. So we are well rehearsed within that space as well. And the way that we work within the franchising space can be different on whether we're dealing with the franchisor or the franchisee. So sometimes it'll be the franchisor getting in touch with us to see how we can support the network as a whole, whether it be with telephone answering or live chat. Sometimes it's the franchisee that they might have a small office, they need support with being able to answer calls. They might not have a dedicated team as such to do that. So the way that we work with them is very, different again, depending on what their needs are.
Okay. And we talked about kind of the needs and struggles of smaller business.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an upper limit to the size a business can be that you can work with? So if you got like a very large corporate company, UK based or international, could you work with companies of that size as well?
Absolutely. There's no too small or too large for us here at Moneypenny. It's just the way that we support them is very different. I would say for your larger, more corporate businesses that you might find within our legal sector, for example, it tends to be more of a switchboard-based service where they've got thousands of employees. It's about us finding who they want to speak to and getting that call to that person as quickly as we possibly can. Another way that we support businesses, and we've had more and more of these users recently, is we have a service called Bespoke Customer Teams. So that's where you have a dedicated team at Moneypenny that solely look after calls for one specific business. So we will provide an end-to-end solution for that client, whether it be inbound, outbound calls, live chat, email monitoring, social media, could be replying to Trustpilot reviews, anything that they would want us to do, we would do for them. So the variety of clients it uses is huge. I think when it gets to that bigger client level, what you might just find is they use us to enhance their current service or current setup rather than fully outsourced to us. Whereas a smaller business, a one-man band, say, who hasn't got the time to take all of them calls, might have everything to us. Mm-hmm. And then he will respond as and when he needs to that client.
No, it sounds really good. I might end up signing up myself with my company. To be honest, it sounds amazing. So I'm not going to ask you specifically about price, but I would presume from what you're saying that the whole purpose of this for any business is this becomes, more than cost effective, and they just get a return on their investment for the money they spend with your company, rather than having teams of people sat in their own offices answering calls who are on 8 hours a day, for example. So without mentioning the price specifically, I guess that you have like retainer packages and then almost buy the call packages. That's a little bit of a guess, but is that correct?
So with packages, we've got lots of different ones in place, and it will all depend on the level of service they want from us. We've got anything from what we call message taking service, which is more of a basic message taking service for, say, smaller businesses that have low volumes. And then it goes to on a pay per minute model on the higher packages. But again, it's very much dependent on the amount of calls coming through to us, what information we're taking on the calls, because obviously that can lengthen or shorten durations, the hours of cover coming through to us. But exactly what you picked up on before is if a client has a receptionist working 8 hours a day, it's how many calls can they realistically take in that 8 hours? What's going to happen if your receptionist is on the phone and another call is to come in, where does that call go to? Does it go to a queuing system? Does it go to voicemail? Does it just ring out? So a lot of the time it's with our service, it's them peaks that come during the day that we're able to assist businesses with as well. And for a lot of our clients, we only need to take one new inquiry per month for them, and the service is more than paid for itself. So again, there's proof in the pudding. When we have clients on, we give them stats on how many calls we're handling and what them calls have been, so they can really see how many new inquiries we've captured for them on a monthly basis to know the value in our service.
And I think that's vitally important. Over the years, I have used various outbound services for calls for marketing or whatever the purpose was, and I've generally found that I can't confirm the value, and ultimately I've always ended up using those services. I actually used one probably about 4 months ago, and they couldn't really report to me properly what they'd been doing. And in the back of my mind, as a business owner who's paying out a certain amount of money for that service, I'm always thinking, there's a lot of trust here. There's a lot of trust, and I'm spending thousands of pounds doing this. And I don't know. And when I ask those questions, they've never really been, including the one I used this year, they've never really been able to confirm for me. So I've ended up very quickly moving on. So it's amazing that you do that. So
yeah, and we provide reporting. So a client at any point can contact, their client engagement manager and say, can you give me a report on XYZ? But we actually give access to our clients to be able to do that as well within our portal. Right. So they can go in and set the date range, understand how many calls have come through, where their times are, where they've been really busy. So it'll show all of that as well. So I think transparency is key when you're using an outsourced provider, because there's so many people that come to us and say, I'm being billed for this, but I actually don't understand what that is. Yeah. I don't know how many calls they're taking for me. I don't know how many minutes they're using. I don't understand any of that because it's all just done on an invoice. Yeah. So I do think transparency and the proof there of this is how many calls we've taken, these are the different reasons that these people have got in touch, really strengthens our business.
No, it sounds amazing, to be honest. So okay, so what about you? You're very passionate about what you do. So, what's your kind of history? How did you end up where you are, and anything else that you want to share, really?
So I've worked at Moneypenny for 10 years this year. So I joined when I was 19, and prior to working at Moneypenny, I was actually a hairdresser. So always been very passionate in terms of kind of customer communication. It was always, I actually preferred being on reception when I worked in the hairdressers than I did actually doing the hairdressering. Yeah. So all that, and a lovely lady used to come in for a hair done. She worked here, and I'd always wanted to work at Moneypenny. So I applied, and I started as a receptionist. Yeah. So I started handling the calls. And quite quickly progressed to team leader, having my own clients, having that portfolio. I also did a stint on our training team to support with that. And then when we launched live chat, I was one of the first live chat agents to join that team and help with them grow that. So that was a really fun experience. It was a new product for us at the time with the ever-changing world of communications. And then around 4 years ago, I joined our small business sales team. So more supporting your small businesses, one-man bands, anything less than, say, 20 staff. Okay. So a whole range of different industries, about how we could support them. I then went off and had my first child and came back and started supporting the healthcare sector. And I think for the past couple of years, my main passion has been learning a bit more about different industries within healthcare, how we can support them in different ways. And one of my main focuses for the past couple of years has been care. So I have set up a networking group, and we do different events. We recently did a networking one locally. Lots of partners within the sector as well, so really embedded myself within that. And I suppose the passion has just come from loving the customer side of things. I love being client facing, going to meetings, events, and yeah, just building relationships within the care sector has allowed me to do that. So it's been a great journey over the past couple of years, but 10 years.
Yeah, no, it's I like doing the podcast because I meet people who are so passionate about what they do, whether they're business owners or employed in the business. It's, any business has to have the right people in it, or it doesn't work. And it's obviously, clearly worked for Moneypenny because of the size of what the company's grown to.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's amazing. Look, thank you very much for coming on. So if somebody who's listening to this podcast, which is the aim of why I do it, thinks actually look, there's a reason here that I could use your services, or you could help us out in one of the ways that you've mentioned, what's the best way of starting a line of inquiry with yourself or with somebody else at the company?
So if you want to contact myself, I'd be more than happy to have a chat with anyone who wants to learn a bit more about any of our services and how we could potentially support them. So they can drop me an email. So my email address is laurenwilliams@moneypenny.co.uk. Nice and simple.
And we'll drop that in underneath this video. We'll drop a link to the website. Sorry, what is the website?
So it's moneypenny.co.uk.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll be the website. There is a specific health and care sector on the website. So phone up and ask to speak to myself, and be more than happy to chat with anyone. I'm always on LinkedIn, always online on LinkedIn. So again, Lauren Williams @Moneypenny on LinkedIn. So feel free to get in touch. But I think it's really about, for me, educating people more than anything on how important first impressions and answering the phone and everything is. But absolutely, if you want to find more about how we can support your telephone answering, live chat or outbound, then I'd be more than happy to have that conversation.
No, it's amazing. Look, thank you very much. You've been a great guest.
Yeah,
And
thank you for having me.
as I've said, yeah, look, thank you for coming on. It's been great. And as I've said, the aim of this is quite simple, is for me to find unique businesses in care who can help care providers at all levels to streamline businesses, streamline charities, whatever it might be, and ultimately cut their costs, but not lose quality. And actually, in this case, improve massively the quality of what they're delivering to, clients, employees, and everybody else in the business. So thank you very much for coming on.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this interview on Elite Care Conversations. I'd just like to say the only way that we're going to be able to make a difference and reach a wide audience is if people like, comment and share this video. Please feel free to do that. It very much helps the cause of the reason that I've decided to do this. Also, if you enjoyed what we're doing, could you please give us a 5-star review either on Google or on Spotify or on YouTube or whichever platform it is that you are watching this on. If you are watching it on YouTube, please do subscribe for future notifications about the different videos that we're going to be uploading. And thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one.